We argue and we want a limited government in Ottawa, a smaller government, lower taxes, and more freedom for Canadians, including the fundamental freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And I'm very not so proud that I'm the only member of parliament right now who is ready to fight for freedom and freedom of expression. It's crazy.
David Menzies for the Rebel.media. Well, today's edition of the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights got off to an incredibly perverse start. And yes, folks, I took notes. First of all, we were denied our press credentials just 20 minutes before the hearing took place. Secondly, we had the ridiculous motion that was passed of Michael Cooper's remarks being expunged from the official record. Then, with just prior to the three pro-free speech witnesses speaking, namely Mark Steyn, John Robson, and Lindsay Shepherd, the committee voted to turn off the television coverage. And fourth, and I think this might be the most disturbing of all, the Conservatives there, they turned a blind eye to this, even though it was the Stephen Harper Conservative government in 2013 that repealed the odious, censorship-happy Section 13 from the Canadian Human Rights Act in the first place. Well, I'm very happy to say that I am now with Maxime Bernier, the leader of the People's Party of Canada. And Mr. Bernier, I can't think of a better person to interview regarding this, because you were there back in 2013 when Section 13 was repealed. What do you make of, I don't know what it is we saw today, but what do you make of it?
First of all, it's very disappointing from my conservative colleagues. I was a conservative at that time, and I fought to be sure that this Section 13 will be erased and withdraw, and we were successful. But I don't know what's happening right now with the political correctness in this country. It is too much. Like you said in the beginning, the committee wants to rewrite history. They erase something that happened yesterday. We had that in a book called 1884. It's a shame. We are a democracy, and committee members saying that thing that happened yesterday did not happen anymore because we're going to erase everything. So it is, I don't know what to say about that, but the most important is the freedom of speech in our country. Freedom of speech, free speech is a fundamental human right, and we must defend them. We must be out there and defend them. And what my colleagues, conservative, the liberals, the NDP, everybody, right now you don't have the right to say what you believe in. And if you want truth in this country, if you want to have debates in this country, you need to have free speech. I don't understand. I'm very disappointed. I said in my speeches and when I'm traveling across the country that this conservative party, they are not conservative anymore. And that's another proof of that.
Well, maybe one expects a pro-censorship, anti-free speech agenda by the likes of Liberals and NDPers, Mr. Bernier. But as far as the Conservatives are concerned, I can't for the life of me understand what Andrew Scheer's unspoken strategy is on this file. If he got out and loudly proclaimed support of free speech, his base is doing fist pumps in the air. But instead, I don't know where he stands on this issue.
We don't know where he stands on a lot of issues. He doesn't have any platform, any ideas. If you read his speeches that he's delivering, his vision of the country, you read the speech, there's nothing there. And about free speech, I'm very disappointed. You must fight for democracy. It's all about democracy. It's all about human rights. It's all about free speech. And yes, I have the right to say something that you won't like. I said that I won't do anything on climate change because I know that the climate is changing, but I don't believe in these people who are saying that it's a climate emergency. So maybe I'm saying that, and somebody will say, Bernier, you don't have the right to say that because that's not supposed to be popular. What's happening right now? It's a shame of our democracy, and these two old political parties, they lost their base. They lost contact with peoples, with Canadians.
You know, you raise a chilling point, Mr. Bernier. I mean, right now, the censorship advocates, they seem to be obsessed with race and religion and sexual orientation and sexual identification and what have you. But how soon will it be, given the course that we're on, when someone might have questions about man-made climate change and be condemned as a denier and facing penalties, including being shut down from social media because that is not state-approved free speech?
Absolutely. I'm scared as a politician. You know, I said that publicly, that the climate change is happening, and there's a lot of variables that you must take into account: the sun, the ocean, and everything. And so I'm the only one who's saying that in Ottawa. Maybe a day, because I'm the only one, somebody will try to say, "Oh, Bernier is doing hate, is speaking against what is popular, so we must try to embarrass him and telling that I'm doing maybe hate speech." But I'm not. You know, I'm speaking about the truth. I'm speaking about what I believe. We need that in a democracy. We need to be able to debate. It's not free speech. It's not only telling you what you want to hear. It is not only being able to telling you the ideas that you share with me. It's about to have a discussion and sometimes a confrontation of ideas, and that's important. That's what I'm doing in politics. So what's happening? It's very dangerous for our democracy here in this country.
Mr. Bernier, there are several Conservatives in the Conservative Party of Canada right now under Mr. Scheer that were there under Mr. Harper, who unanimously voted against Section 13. How can they live with themselves seeing what's going on here, that potentially Section 13 is going to be reinstated, and you know it is going to be used by those who dislike free speech?
Absolutely, and that's why it is a shame. And I'm saying to these politicians, you know, if you have any conviction and backbone, and come with us, come with the People's Party. You'll be welcome. But what's happening? Like, it's a kind of a dictatorship with Andrew Scheer, and he's saying to his member of parliament, "You cannot speak, you cannot do anything, and you will erase what happened in the committee yesterday." That won't be in the history book. What's that? And I don't know how they can sleep at night. I really don't know.
And you know, we heard from the testimony of the great Mark Steyn, free speech champion, and he stated that Section 13 was an absolutely corrupt section from the get-go. In fact, there was one individual in Canada, Richard Warman. Sometimes he was an employee of the human rights racket. Sometimes he was a client. And he brought more than a dozen successful convictions against speech on the internet that he went fishing for to find offensive. I mean, this was somebody that was gaming the system for economical advancement. How can anybody think that it's a good idea to bring back Section 13?
It is not, and it is not. Why? Because we have the criminal code, and the real hate speech, if somebody is saying something really hateful, there's the criminal code, and there's democracy over there, there's procedure. So we have something for real hate speech. But what the government wants to do is to put a bureaucrat, a civil servant, in charge of looking at what I'm saying as a politician, of what Canadians are saying. And because they won't like it, we won't be able to say what we believe in. It's crazy. We are going in a direction that is not very good for our democracy.
And I find it fascinating, Mr. Bernier. It seems that Justin Trudeau's philosophy when it comes to free speech, it is a carrot and a stick approach. The carrot is $1.5 billion to CBC, $600 million to state-approved media organizations. So, you know, if you want to, get your snouts up to the trough, you play ball with us. And if you don't play ball with us, well, there's other ways that we can harm you. For example, human rights provisions that shut you down, and perhaps even more ominously, moving forward, this unholy alliance we see around the Western world of big government getting in cahoots with big social media companies, ostensibly to shut down or to approve what is said in the public square.
And that's why I think in Canada we need the People's Party of Canada. Our principles are very clear: individual freedom and personal responsibility. So we argue and we want a limited government in Ottawa, a smaller government, lower taxes, and more freedom for Canadians, including the fundamental freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And I'm very not so proud that I'm the only member of Parliament right now who is ready to fight for freedom and freedom of expression. It's crazy. Members of Parliament are supposed to fight. Parliament is for debates. And now they want to put a clause in a legislation that will limit debates. It's crazy.
Mr. Bernier, everything you just listed is something that appeals greatly to a conservative base. So why is it that Mr. Scheer and other conservatives are either going AWOL or pleading the fifth or being very fuzzy about where they stand on this? I mean, I'm trying to understand what the ostensible policy reason is.
Like Andrew Scheer said, he said right now the Conservative Party of Canada, it's a centrist and pragmatic party with lots of ideas for a lot of people. So what is the translation of that? I will tell you what you want to hear. I will do everything to be in government. I don't have any conviction. I don't have any vision for the country. So, centrist, he is the one who's splitting the votes, the Liberals vote and the leftist votes. So he's not conservative anymore. So why he's doing that? I want to answer your question. I think it's in the strategy to split the left votes, to split the Liberals and the NDP vote for having more vote on that side. And they think that they won't lose a lot of votes from the other side, from the freedom conservative, fiscal conservative. And it's all part of his strategy with not balancing the budget in 2 years. He said it will be in 2 terms, in 5 years. It's easy to balance the budget in 2 years if you have the courage to do what needs to be done. So their strategy is to split the vote, the Liberals vote and the NDP votes, and that's why they're going to the left. That's my only answer to that, but I think that's what they're doing.
Do you think this is a winning strategy?
I don't think so, because the real conservative will look at it and they have a home right now, and the home for the real conservative, it is the People's Party of Canada.
You know, and one other thing, Mr. Bernier, we see that the Trudeau Liberals are very pro-censorship, like I said earlier, whether it is by the carrot or the stick. And can you believe it, with all what we saw today at this committee meeting, that next month this Liberal government, along with the UK government here in Ottawa, is staging an anti-censorship conference? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It is completely perverse.
Absolutely. Now in Canada, we are looking for a way to give power to a bureaucrat to censor Canadians. And, I don't know what to say. We need to fight for what we believe, and we believe in freedom. So what's happening in other countries, I look what happened in Australia. I think they elect a good government over there that is fighting for their people. In Europe, there's a big movement over there that is happening, and the same thing can happen here in this country.
Well, Mr. Bernier, I want to thank you so much for your time and your candor. Unfortunately, we can't get anyone from the Conservative Party to speak about that. And how's that for irony, folks? I mean, the very fact that we reach out to Conservatives to talk about free speech, and they self-censor themselves when it comes to utilizing their own free speech. Absolutely incredible. For the Rebel.media, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, the Rebel has a new app. Please download that app and take the Rebel with you wherever you go.